welcome to BoxCast again with special guest Simon again.
Hello.
And we're going to be discussing the Joshua Helenius fight. The review of that after the fight. And also the upcoming fight between Usyk and Dubois in a couple of days. So, Si, should we start with Joshua and Helenius?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Interesting fight.
It was interesting.
Enjoyed
Different
it.
style from Joshua.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think everyone's jumping. Everyone wants to see the knockout. Yeah, they got the knockout. They wanted it a lot earlier. It was never going to happen. I like the way Joshua's come out, and he's not going to fight how we want him to fight anymore. Going in and guns blazing. He's breaking opponents down now. He's looking for that shot. If it goes 12 rounds, it goes 12 rounds. I don't think he's bothered as long as he's getting the victory now. And let's not forget, look at the likes of Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko. They did exactly the same throughout their career.
Well, I think as the fighter matures, and also people have seen. It's not like he's had one or two fights now. People have seen how many of his fights they work you out. So you've got to. You
can't just go in gun-ho. You're going to get clipped on the jaw, aren't you? Thought Helenius was a credible opponent as well, though. To be fair,
yeah.
I know a lot of people are going to compare it to the Wilder fight, but Helenius fought it completely different. Helenius against Wilder. Helenius went straight after Wilder
it, didn't he?
And got caught coming in. And he didn't do that against AJ. What I liked about AJ is he used to just come forward, hands up, and take the shots on the gloves. But now he seems to be slipping in, slipping
There's
a lot
bit
of
more
shots.
head movement,
Yeah,
a bit
so
more
he's riding the shots a lot more. Which obviously he's been working on with his trainer. I thought his jab was fantastic. And you know, everyone's saying about the demons of that throwing that right hand. I mean, he was throwing the right hand. I liked he went to his corner and said, "Look, I'm not landing the right hand."
Yeah.
And his basically corner just went, "Keep doing the jab, it'll come." Because what he was doing is he was throwing the right hand from a static stance. So he'd throw the jab and the right hand from the same stance.
Yeah. You've got to have a bit more footwork.
Yeah, but if you watch when he actually knocked him out, he steps in with.
Yeah.
He steps in and then throws the right hand, and that's how we got him out of there. So that's.
Well, I think if you look at the fights that we discussed before with Inoue and with Crawford, it's not about landing it the first time. It's setting it up from the beginning, like Inoue did with his body shots, straight body shots, and that's what he's done here. It's jab in the same position. At some point, the opposition is going to make a mistake.
Yeah,
he made a mistake. It was open, bang, over the top, end of fight.
I tell you what did surprise me was the speed he landed the right hand.
Yeah.
Seem to forget how quick Joshua is sometimes.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it was a glancing blow that caught Helenius. It's a good job it wasn't a full capture, because I think Helenius would still be asleep.
He did slightly move out.
Yeah, his jaw
with
was
it,
come
but it was still.
But no, I thought he did. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for performance. It's the first time I've seen him in with someone who's much taller than him.
Yeah, well, I think we said this, didn't we? The way in he looks.
They look the same
size.
But
and in the ring, he looked quite a lot smaller.
It was totally different in the ring.
Which is a bit weird, but yeah.
I think I give Helenius 1 round, and I was being extremely generous. But it was a competitive fight all the way through.
I think Joshua was more proficient all the way through. He was a better boxer, but Helenius didn't roll over and just go.
No.
And he was cautious, obviously, after the Wilder fight. So,
and you know, there's going to be, let's be honest, psychologically, there's going to be demons there. It's exactly the same situation as it was when he got beat by Andy Ruiz.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, oh my God. But no, but he's. I
think that's better than he's fought for a while. I mean, he was very good in the second Usyk fight, which probably sounds bad that he lost, but Usyk is special.
Usyk is special, yeah.
And it's a different level of boxer. But I think in this, It was efficient. He didn't look like he was going to gas out. He was patient, although I think he was getting a bit concerned about his right hand, but his corner was like, yeah, well, just carry on doing what you're doing.
And
it will come.
And that's the thing, though, is at least he's listening to his corner.
Yeah.
He's got someone in there that he's focusing on and listening to, which...
Well, he's got a world-class coach.
I don't think he's had, and I think he's had some good sparring as well. I'd like to see a little bit more bounce in his feet.
Yeah.
He seemed quite flat-footed. But
he did look a little bit ring rusty.
Yeah.
But he got better as he got along.
he got caught with a few shots. It's boxing, you're going to get caught with a few shots.
You're going to get caught, especially if you're fighting the better opposition. They are going to catch you.
And,
it's how you deal with it.
People say, Helenius. Look, Helenius was fit and ready.
Yeah.
And I think Helenius really fancied it.
Yeah.
So, no, it's a good poke. Shame the main event didn't come off against Dylan White. It would have been a much different fight. But...
I think that might be, if the rumours are true and the next fight is Wilder, I think that might be in a better warm-up for Wilder because he's more of a similar stature.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's bigger than both of them, but still it's more that fighting up rather than fighting to somebody who's shorter. It's a different challenge, as you said.
Different challenge,
White.
And
White would have been more aggressive and coming forward.
I think Joshua would have took White out quite early, to be honest.
Well, I think he'd have done what Helenius did against Wilder and walked into something. And if his timing and stuff, if he throws the right hand at that speed, I think he's going to catch you. It's over.
But no, it's. Did we learn a lot from it? Yeah, we did. I'd say. Well, I did. I think Joshua's definitely improved under.
Yeah.
Derek James. I think
his boxing skills are definitely evolved.
Yeah, and like you say, I think he's taking his time now. He's breaking these opponents down. Let's not forget, he is one hell of a finisher as well.
Yeah.
You will see Joshua evolve. If he gets someone in trouble, he will go in and throw them combinations that we're all used to seeing.
It works.
One thing I think that Joshua has got is if he gets hurt, he'll go down swinging.
Yeah.
He's not just gonna.
He doesn't give up easily.
No.
I mean, I think it's like you said. I was questioning his chin, and you said, "Well, actually, who's got him there?" It's Ruiz was on the side of the head. It was one of those where if you catch it in the right place, it's going to buzz anybody.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, people question his chin.
Nobody else has really got him there.
No, I mean, Klitschko hit him with a barnstormer.
Yeah, he went down and got up and carried on in it. Once he recovered.
And he got clipped by Klitschko a good few times. He's been clipped.
Klitschko would have won that fight if he was younger, really, let's be honest.
He's been clipped by White, he's been clipped by Povetkin, Pulev. These big punches.
Yeah.
And he has been clipped. Against Usyk, he got clipped how many times on the jaw?
Yeah.
And people say, Usyk isn't a massive puncher. It doesn't matter. When someone's 16 stone cracking you on your jaw, you're feeling it.
Yeah, but he's at the timing. He's going to catch you properly. Yeah. It's not about wild swings, is it?
So we don't believe, any heavyweight, if you catch him flush on that chin,
you're that heavy, you're going to catch somebody. The amount of force behind the punch is enough to get you.
He's never been knocked out, AJ. Yeah. He hasn't been knocked out. He got stopped against Ruiz, but he was
a combination of the first punch got him first, and then he didn't know where he was.
But he's never been stopped out cold. So now it leads us nicely onto what hopefully now will sort the bloody heavyweight division out and get the bigger, better fights. Do you see improvements in Joshua in the Helenius fight? Do you see much
I think
improvement?
It was a lot more calm. I think it was a bit. I was sort of cursing the commentators because they were just expecting the old AJ, and he's got to evolve. Everybody knows he's got to evolve. When you've got caught with those things, you've got to evolve as a fighter. Yeah. I think one of his issues is he gasses out in those, because the problem is if you fight like the way he does, and then realistically you're expecting to win in less than 6 rounds, you haven't got the energy then to go the rounds. And he's been caught on that a little bit when people have managed to avoid him or keep him at bay, not get knocked out. You can see that he visibly, the energy goes down.
Yeah.
And I think here he was pacing himself better. It was a far more professional performance, is the way I describe it. It was more composed, more patient, systematic breakdown rather than where he's had before, as he started. But that's the way you start out. You should evolve.
Yeah, everyone goes on about, you should be knocking everyone out. When was the last time Tyson Fury, sparked someone out in 2 rounds?
Wilder, but then look how much weight he put on. And,
how long did it take him to knock Wilder out?
You've learned to fight over 3 fights. Yeah. And they're all saying Wilder has no defense, no thingy. It took him, it's a systematic breakdown. It wasn't like a one punch from round one thing. Which brings us on to, likely to be the possible fight. And I've read some gives me a bit of confidence that it happened between Joshua and Wilder. I mean, obviously we'll do a full review when it is properly done and announced, but I think
does it happen?
See, I think Joshua's a better boxer and a better fighter, but I think he's going to get caught, and that's my concern. With Wilder, Wilder will catch him, and if he catches him properly, I think it's all over. We may see Joshua get knocked out for the first time, or if he does his recovery as he did against Klitschko, then yeah. But I think in all aspects other than that one punch thing, I think Joshua's a better fighter and a better boxer.
I think.
But it's can he avoid him for 12 rounds? And I'm not sure he can.
I don't think he's going to need to avoid him for 12 rounds. I'd look at like how Wilder fought against the likes of Luis Ortiz. And Luis Ortiz was like won every single round. And Luis Ortiz ain't the puncher Joshua is.
No.
Joshua can box his head off and knock him out.
Mm-hmm. No, I would make Joshua favourite. Don't get me wrong. I'd make it like 70-30 to Joshua, but I'm going to
be controversial, and I'm just going to say don't even worry about Wilder's power because it ain't going to come into tuition because Joshua's going to school him and knock him out, and everyone's going to say it's his easiest victory, and I think it will be his easiest victory. I agree with the likes of Eddie Hearn. Joshua knocks him out and makes him look silly doing it. And that's then going to cast, and then everyone's going to say, "Oh, why is it taking Tyson Fury? Why did it take Tyson Fury so long?" I just think Joshua's got Wilder's number, I've always thought that, and I think he's going to make him look silly and amateurish, and let's be honest, Deontay Wilder is amateurish.
Yeah, but he's got a bomb.
Yeah, he's got a bomb.
And he does catch most people. He even caught Tyson Fury.
He ain't going to land it on Joshua. Mm-hmm. Not a chance, in my opinion. I think Joshua's going to be too slick. One thing I will say, I think Joshua's learned a lot from the Usyk fight. Mm-hmm. And I think he's come away from that Usyk's fight going, damn, that boy's hard to catch clean. I need to be like that. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think he's learned to slip his shots. His
defense has definitely got better.
Instead of just putting his gloves up.
But he just went forward before. It was the aggression.
Now he's slipping his shots. Boxing. So he is taking a little bit of sting out of the shots if he's getting caught. Yeah, don't get me. I'm not saying Wilder can't knock him out. Wilder can knock anyone out. But I just think Joshua destroys him.
The Wilder's thing is if he catches you the one he expects you to go, if Joshua can recover from it, if he can slip it enough where it's not a clean hit, then that sort of stopped. Like it's what Fury did to him, and he expected he'd won, and then he couldn't finish afterwards because he's not used to doing it. It's usually once he's caught you, it's near enough over, or it is over most of the time.
Do you think the fight happens?
I hope so. I think that's one of the most exciting fights in the heavyweight division.
It's the most exciting fight in the heavyweight division. I don't think Joshua's going to wait around for it though.
But who else does he fight? I think if he gets Fury, he'd do that.
Maybe do. I don't think Joshua cares anymore. I just think I think Joshua's basically said to himself, he's got 4 to 5 fights left over 2-3 year period, and he wants activity now.
Well, Wilder's already said his next fight is Joshua, and it might be a 2-fight deal because he said he want to do one in Saudi and one in Africa. Because he goes, he's always had an ambition to do one in Africa. And for them to, it makes sense to do it there.
I think they've got to do it before January. Otherwise, that's when I think Joshua will go, do you know what? I need to fight.
Mm-hmm. I can see Joshua having another fight in between.
Yeah.
I don't think, I think Deontay Wilder's decided that's it because what is he going to do is warm up and think, which may work against him because he's only had his last fight was Helenius, wasn't it? In the 1 round. So he's only had about 1 round in the last little bit. And Joshua's had the second Usyk, I think Helenius and what was it, Franklin?
Franklin, yeah. Which he's gone a lot of rounds there.
Well, that's why I said immediately after, didn't it? I'm glad he's gone that many rounds rather than knocked him out early because I think he needed the ring rust.
He still looked quite fresh.
And he grew into the fight.
Yeah, he still looked quite fresh.
Well, he didn't look like he was gassing out.
No.
And normally he does by about 7 or 8 rounds.
Yeah,
so. He was far more efficient with his punches, his movement, everything was. Yeah, I think there's still room for improvement, but it was a lot better.
There's always room for improvement, isn't there? I hope the fight does happen. I think if it is down to these Saudis, they need to get a move on now. First it was November, then it was December, now it's January. What's going to be next? February?
Well, I'm not sure it's them delaying it because I think they want to get it done. I think they want both. They're still trying to get them to and Usyk and Fury.
Forget about Usyk Fury. Just make Joshua Wilder because that's a massive, massive fight. Yeah, Usyk Fury could be undisputed, but how long have we been waiting for?
Well, I don't think the thing is. I think before there were other forces at play because they haven't got a belt. I think it's far easier to make now.
Should be, yeah.
Because it's the biggest money fight. What are they fighting for? They're not fighting for the belt. It's the purse, and they're not going to get a bigger purse.
No.
Unless Joshua fights Fury. It was if either of them fight Fury, it's a bigger purse, but Wilder's already done it, so it doesn't work for him. His biggest fight out there is Joshua.
And how long have we been waiting for that fight?
Yeah. Well, it's as I said, they should have fought Usyk last because he's the best of the lot.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going to discuss him in a little bit, but it should have been Joshua versus Wilder, which I think at his pomp, then he was even more likely to win, although maybe he needed the lessons in defense. But then, and I think at that point, I've always said to you, I fancy him over Fury, just because I think it's the styles, and he ain't going to get bullied by his weight. Whereas that was his main game plan over Wilder. He was bullying him with his weight.
Yeah, I mean,
he's good at punching, but he got caught a fair few times. It wasn't like he's not Usyk slick defensive, which is just Usyk's at a different level, in my opinion, anyway. And from what I've seen, it's a different level, but. Obviously, the size does have some game plan. And I think Joshua with his... But the thing is this, maybe it works out better that way because if he gets Wilder, I think then the next logical fight, because I think Fury ain't going to fight Usyk straight away. I think he'll take Joshua because that's the biggest money fight on British shores. If you've got Joshua versus Fury, the interest in that will be ridiculous. And with Joshua's pulling power and what Fury's sort of cemented up, as long as he doesn't lose to Ngannou, which would be hilarious, but might upset the battle card.
Would be absolutely hilarious.
I think he deserves it if it happens, really, though, for what he's been doing, messing up the division. But anyway, that's side chat.
Yeah, that's a chat for another day.
Yeah.
No, I do think it happened. From what you hear, is Eddie Hearn and Shelley Finkel, who's Deontay Wilder's promoter, there on talking terms. They're talking about it. Doesn't seem to be any stumbling blocks. I think the purse agreed. The purses are already agreed from what I'm hearing.
Well, the way I look at it is, if you look at from logically, there's no really bigger fights. Definitely for Wilder, there's no bigger fight. Yeah, maybe Usyk, but I don't think in monetary terms in pay-per-views. I think Joshua is a bigger sell. It's a better match, especially if you're doing in Saudi, and then if you want to do in Africa. Depends how a fight outcome, isn't it, I think? But even if you only get once, I think it has to be done. And as neither of them got belts, I don't think there's sticking points from the belts part or from the boards where they're trying to protect the fighter. I think reputation-wise, I don't think it matters to either of them because both of them have had the zero taken off. Obviously, they cared about winning. And then it's a fight that should have happened before, but I think even if we get it now, it'll be a heck of a fight.
Yeah, it's still good. And you've got let's call them the four kings, if you like, Fury, Usyk, Wilder, Joshua. They're coming to the end.
Yeah. They need to get the fights done in the next couple of years.
They're coming to the end.
Yeah.
What's Wilder's 36, 37?
They're all up that.
Joshua's 32.
Joshua's the youngest. Fury's similar. Usyk is 35.
Yeah, so they're coming to the end. Get these fights in now because no one wants to see Joshua Wilder when Wilder's 40 and Joshua's 35. No one wants to see Fury Usyk when Usyk's 40.
Well, the problem is if they're not busy, then what's the relevance?
Yeah.
And the thing is, the younger ones are going to come up and start beating them. So what then? They ain't going to have that draw that they have now.
And I think your governing bodies are like, say, a WBC. How long's it been since Tyson fought? 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Not acceptable.
Yeah.
Not acceptable.
Well, I think he's the one who's upset it because he's the one avoiding the fight. I don't think any of the others are really
no,
avoiding
but
fights.
The governing body should be coming in and saying, right, you fight your mandatory then. We let you have, from what I gather is you go, all right, yeah, you can negotiate to fight Usyk for undisputed, get that. If that falls apart, you've got
to fight somebody else.
You've got 90 days to fight your mandatory.
Yeah.
Because I do, as much as we want to see Usyk Fury, Joshua Fury, these young up and coming lads who have worked hard to get to a mandatory position
deserve their chance.
And I don't like Dylan White, but what did he wait over 500 days for a mandatory shot?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to wait 500 days to have a mandatory.
Well, what's the point of being mandatory
exactly.
if you don't get a fight?
I think he had 6 fights while he was a mandatory challenger, and
which is ridiculous.
Fair dues to Dylan White. He didn't take any easy fights during that period. But I just think these governing bodies have to sort it out. If you want to make undisputed, fine. Give him a certain amount of days to make undisputed. If it's not happening, right, you've got to fight your mandatory.
Usyk is, and that's what we're going to go into. Is his fighting is mandatory. So it's just like you said, it's just one person really who's held it up. Or the others have and ahed, but I think there was more to it, and outside of them. But I think that's why I think Wilder Joshua will happen, because both the fighters want to do it.
Yeah, there's no belts on the line now.
There's no belts on the line, so they're not under that influence. And it's the promoters. Obviously, the promoters want to do it. It's a huge fight. So I think, there's no reason Hearn wouldn't want to do it, because it's the biggest
screaming
fight.
For it, Annie. So.
And the same from Wilder's side. It's the biggest fight out there that he can realistically make. And if it's 2 happy days, if it's 1 happy days, but at least have 1. Get it done.
Get it done, yeah.
And, I think that's basically got to be done.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed it happens, and, they learn from these lighter divisions of get these fights on.
Well, if they're not learning from that, they're missing out, isn't it? It's got to be done. And then like you said, get their generations legacy out the way, and then let the young ones come up.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully that gets done, and then the winner of them I think will fight Fury. I don't think Usyk Fury will be first, and then the winner of that goes to fight Usyk, I think. Which is a bit bad on Usyk, because I don't know who he's going to fight in between, although Hrgovic seems to be the one that's...
Well, Hrgovic is the next mandatory, isn't he?
I'm not sure, but Hrgovic always looks weird, because his last fight, but then he knocked him out, but he looks like he's not interested. He looks like he doesn't... His body language is all, I don't want to be here. And yet he just goes forward, just carries on going like a robot. Yet he looks, there's no expression.
He is...
apart from just the same.
Is he one of them that he needs that big fight to bring the best out of him?
I don't know.
Because I remember when he first started out, everyone was avoiding him.
Yeah.
Is it now where he's having to...
Or maybe he's playing possum as
playing possum to go,
I did.
Look, I am actually beatable.
Yeah. You can't get close to me.
I don't know. Like you say, it's...
He just looks weird to me, because most people look like... You can have fighters who don't want to look like they want to be there, but they're going backwards. There's fighters who, obviously you can see that are excited to be there. He just looks like the same expression, but it looks completely disinterested.
Yeah.
Like he's...
I can't be bothered with this.
Yeah. But he keeps going forward or keeps fighting, and you're like, huh?
And then it just a switch goes off, and he goes, I'm going to knock you out now.
As he did in his last fight, and it was boring until then, and then he just boom, boom, and then it's done. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I don't get it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe throwing in with a contender.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what he needs, isn't it? If he goes
a big
forward,
contender.
But, yeah. Okie dokie. We'll have a little pause there, and then we'll come back for our main event, isn't it? Okay, welcome back. Right. Simon, we will discuss now. Then our man, we've spoke a bit about Oleksandr Usyk. He's fighting Daniel Dubois in Poland. Yeah, your thoughts? Just while I look up it.
Yeah. It's a mismatch as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's saying, Dubois has got a chance with his power. Yeah, he has, but I've watched Dubois' last couple of fights again. If a fight ain't going his way, he doesn't look happy at all.
He gets frustrated quite easily.
And I think in his last fight, he was lucky not to have been stopped. I think there was a bit of controversy going on. Against Joe Joyce, let's be honest, he quit.
Yeah.
He quit, plain and simple. He's a lump. He's got power. Apparently he's knocked Joshua out in sparring. I actually think Usyk stops him.
Yeah, you were saying this, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Usyk actually stops him. I think
because you don't think he's afraid of playing possum now.
No, I think Usyk's just go.
He'll actually show what he can do.
Yeah, I think Usyk is going to stop him, and he's going to put a statement out. And let's not forget it. Yes, this fight's in Poland, but it's 40,000 Ukrainian fans in there.
Yeah.
They're in a city which has been taken over by the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
He is going to put on a show. He is going to stop Daniel Dubois. And I think
another part of that was Ukrainian Independence Day yesterday, so I think I can't see him losing when he's got to fight for that in front of essentially a home crowd.
But I tell you something, Frank Warren stuff want Daniel Dubois to win because that's an easy fight for Fury Dubois for the undisputed then.
Yeah.
And that'll be made in December, I bet you.
Oh, that'll get done.
That'll get done like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see it. I think Usyk breaks him down in 4 or 5 rounds and then stops him in the 6th or 7th violently. I think Usyk has got to be careful because he is a lump, Dubois, and he can punch. But I think he's going to find Dubois really easy to hit. And
of comparisons that have been made, Dubois against Joshua. What is your opinion on that? Do you think Dubois is actually better than Joshua?
No, I don't think. Dubois,
I don't see that in him.
Dubois, yes, he's a lump. He's got power.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
There's no doubt. No, yeah.
That's it.
I don't think he's as good a boxer as Joshua is.
He's nowhere near as good a boxer as Joshua is. Yeah, I don't think he's got the heart.
Joshua has. Yeah.
Nowhere near has got the heart. Yeah, he's got finishing power. Joe Joyce took care of him quite easily.
Yeah. And Joyce wasn't that good in that fight, to be honest.
And who was the last person that Dubois fought? What was his name? But he was put on the canvas for that. People said he wasn't, but he was.
I'll just find out the last fight.
I just think Usyk... Well,
that was a bit controversial, isn't it? Because there was a fair few knockdowns to him thrown.
I just don't rate Daniel Dubois. I just don't rate him. He reminds me a bit...
Kevin Lorena.
Yeah.
Lorena. Yeah.
He reminds me a bit of David Price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got the power and all the attributes, but unfortunately, son, I think they're going to sound really harsh on him now. I think he's fringe European level at best.
It's a bit harsh. He's had 20 fights. He's won 19 and 18 by knockout. But I don't think the opponent list was that good.
I can't name any of them.
Yeah.
I can't name any of them.
The only one where he had somebody where you knew who it was, Joyce, he got beat.
Yeah. I think...
Sometimes that's why you have to be careful of
he's a young man.
Records.
He is a young man.
He's still up and coming and he's learning, and I think that's his fight is too early for him.
The Joe Joyce fight, I think it was a bit like the Joshua White first fight. Let's throw them in together and
see what happens. Which one's going to come out on top?
I mean, that was the worst thing in the world for him. I think this boy needs development. He's got no amateur pedigree. He's got all the attributes, but I think he needs confidence. I think he needs better matchmaking. Because
he'll never have fought anybody like Usyk. And Usyk's fought plenty of lumps like him. Because if you compare him to Joshua, we've seen.
Read some of the names off of Dubois' fights.
Let's see what his box record.
His last 10 fights.
Yeah, I'm not going to know who they are. Apart from Joyce.
Yeah. Okay. So you got Joyce.
Let's go down. Right. Kevin Lorena, which was TKO, but a bit controversial. Trevor Bryan.
What was he, about 55?
It doesn't say, but yeah.
Yeah, 55.
Joe Cusimano.
Never heard of him.
See, Trevor Bryan was 22-0, isn't it? The fights, wins, but again, let me see what he is. Open record. Boxing. Yeah, he's only had one knockout. It was
there you go.
One. He's only been lost one fight, isn't it? But he's won all the rest. But again, let me see who's fought. Steven.
Yeah, how old was Trevor Bryan's 34 years of age.
Yeah, he's not really fought anybody. So that O record was against lesser opponents. Joe Cusimano, Bogdan Dinu, obviously Joe Joyce, Ricardo Snyders, Kyoto Fujimoto, Ebenezer. Yeah, they're all like 19-0, but they're all like they fought the same sort of people and not really. There's nobody in there that's of any real.
He's not had.
Well, we can get Usyk's one, and then
you know a good fight for him would have been someone like a Derek Chisora or a Dillian White. Now, not Usyk. I don't think his development's been the best. I think he's been knocking these lads over in 2 or 3 rounds. A bit like Joshua.
At the beginning.
Yeah, he's been knocking these lads over and then comes up against Joyce. And, Joyce is a bit, he's like a robot, Joyce, isn't he? You just keep going. But he's a young man. He has got youth on his side. He can, he's come back. Usyk's mandatory. Mandatories are always a. Would Usyk, if he wasn't mandatory, would Usyk have picked him out? Not a chance.
No, not a
chance.
Well, if you look at Usyk's last fights, there's 2 against Joshua, Chisora, Chaz Witherspoon. All right, they were the warm ups for the heavyweight, but then you got Bellew, Gassiev, Breedis, Hook, who were like exceptional.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Michael Hunter, who was the up and coming Breedis and Hunter and Gassiev were all unbeaten, but like champions.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just you're talking massive different levels here.
Mchunu, Glowacki, who was a good fighter, Christoph Glowacki. There's a different level of pedigree of.
Usyk is elite level, that's what I'm saying. Dubois, for me, fringe European. I wish him all the best. He's British. Do I want him to win? No, I don't. Sorry. I want Usyk to win.
I'm of the same camp. I want Usyk to win.
Dubois got no charisma about him, has he? Let's be honest. A heavyweight champion, as much as I don't like Tyson Fury, he's got charisma. You've heard of him. He screams and shouts. Dubois is a manufactured robot, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just stands there.
Well, I think, like you said, it's just fodder for Fury. Yeah. If he managed to sneak a lucky victory,
if
he's going to go up against Fury. He earns his money for 2 fights, and then Fury.
But he's not going to, like I say,
and then hides and retires.
I think Usyk knocks him out, and I think it's going to be quite a violent fight, or the corner maybe pull Dubois out. Because he has got that eye. Eye recovered from Dubois? Because tell you what, Usyk will target it.
And he'll hit it. He's that accurate.
Usyk will target it.
I think that's why. I don't think Dubois' defense is good enough. That if you're getting caught by Joyce, Usyk is going to definitely catch you. You can't avoid him. So it's like, can you do anything to reverse it? Yeah, you can get a lucky punch. His only chance is really a lucky punch.
Yeah.
Lucky punch, you rock Usyk and then do it. But I think Usyk's chin is better than one lucky punch. I don't think you're going to catch him once and knock him out.
He's been clipped a good few times by Joshua Usyk, hasn't he?
A body shot in the 9th of the last fight.
Do you know what I mean?
It was like, ooh. But then he just got, it was more like, oh, okay, there's still some fight left in you. I'll show you. And then he won the last 3 rounds.
But I think because from what I gather is everyone's saying it's an Usyk point victory. Everyone's saying, Usyk hasn't really got the power at heavyweight to hurt you. Usyk likes to prove people wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think he's got bigger. If you look at his physique, he looks like he's filled out a bit, grown a bit more into heavyweight.
And I think Usyk, like I say, he likes to prove people wrong. So he'll go, oh yeah, I can't knock him out. Want to bet?
Well, I think the thing is, he actually liked Chisora. So he took it easy on him, and he was playing possum.
Well, yeah, I mean, he has come. Whether you believe it or not, he has come out and said he was playing possum.
But the thing is, I said it at the time. I think, as I said, his levels. I think against the first fight, he was just warming up, because he was clearly like he was never really in danger, neither against Chisora. But I think, like he said, he liked Chisora. I think he liked Bellew, so he did it, but he did knock him out. And and Bellew gave him a good fight.
Yeah, let's be. Bellew was ahead on points in on my card at the time.
Well, I think Bellew started better. It's like he was working him out. It took him about 4 rounds to work him out.
I tell you about the main.
He did start slowly against him, but he seems to have got a bit faster.
I think what Usyk's problem could be is against a lesser opponent, he knows he doesn't have to go through the gears.
Yeah.
So if he can stay at level 2 and beat them, he will do. He won't go through the gears to get the knockout. And I think that's maybe his only problem that he's got, which isn't a bad problem to have, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Don't get out of second gear and
win. Maybe he gets comfortable and he goes, I can just do this all night. And
well, I'd agree, but it's his first home fight.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
And like I said, it was Independence Day yesterday, and I think he's going to want to put on a show.
If he goes through
as
the gears,
a motivational show,
then I think, like I say,
then it's probably
going to be a violent
fairly quick.
But if he goes home comfortable, I'll just put on a show.
If you were him, though, do you put on a statement? Because the other fighter's already running scared. Well, he's fought Joshua, who didn't, which we've got to give credit for. But if the others get to that point and they want to fight him, I think Wilder would fight him now anyway, because again, he's gone on to lose. His Fury, who's really avoiding. If he puts on a show and absolutely blows him away.
If Fury cares about his legacy, he's going to have to fight Usyk, plain and simple. And if the people have turned against Tyson Fury, I know he's got this new bloody Netflix documentary out, whatever. But a lot of people have turned against Tyson Fury because of what's happened. And I think the only way he gets that back now is he fights Joshua and Usyk.
Well, I think he's got more chance of fighting Joshua because I think he thinks he's got more of a chance. I have that sneaky feeling, though, that, like I've always said, I think Joshua's got his number. I think he'll get him because his big thing about bullying and things, I think Joshua's got... I mean, we'll find out if he can do against Wilder, but I think if he does Wilder, that'll be a huge boost to his confidence. Because I think the one thing sort of lacking a little bit in Joshua at the moment is that confidence that he had at the beginning. And, because it's big names, you can beat the other people. He's expected to beat them. Wilder's more 50-50 in most people's
Wilder's
eyes.
50-50,
The Wilder fans are going to be promoting him, Joshua on one side. And it is more a 50-50 fight. Yeah, boxing skill and everything else, Joshua's got that more than Wilder has. Wilder has got the power, though, so equalises everything. And to be fair, I think Wilder's got a little bit better. I think we take away a lot from him because he just has that one punch thing, and it is a bit of a wild punch when it comes through. But if you actually see the way he finished Helenius, it wasn't that big wild punch. It was
we caught him on the counter coming in. But I just go back to look at the 3 fights against Fury. Let's be honest, apart from the drama, they weren't good boxing fights.
They weren't really good fights.
They were street fights.
There was more drama, and in the build-up was more exciting than the actual contest.
There was no...
The first one was exciting because
either side stuff like that. But apart from that, the boxing was pretty average, to be fair. I know a lot of people...
There was more clinching and stuff than
disagree.
It was.
Yeah, Fury leaning on him and stuff like that.
Well, I think if you look at the last 2 fights we looked at with Crawford and Crawford and Spence...
They're boxing fights.
There's the level of talent on there was ridiculous. I think... Hopefully we'll get from Usyk. I don't think we get that level from Dubois. Usyk's my number 3 pound for pound. So do we expect the same as in a way Monster or Crawford blow away? I think that's what you're hinting at. It's going to be a one-way.
Yeah, I just don't.
I hope he turns it on. I hope he thinks...
you take away the hype and listening to people saying, Dubois got a great chance. He's a young man. Yeah, he is a young man. It's that Audley Harrison thing again, isn't it? You're listening to the hype. Let's be honest. Usyk is going to destroy him. He's going to destroy him. If Dubois lands on him, yeah, but he's not going to. And like I say, I'll go for an Usyk knockout this time. And all people say is, Dubois wasn't that good anyway.
Well, it's a lose-lose for him, really.
He's not. He isn't that good, and this is what I'm saying. Uzi fought.
Nobody.
Well,
one Joe Joyce. And
he got it. He
quit.
Yeah. And Joe Joyce ain't no bloody Oleksandr Usyk.
No. Well, Usyk's beaten him in the amateurs, and
Quite
I completely
easily.
outboxed him.
And
he had him a bit more rocked. And as an amateur, then.
Like I say, I think Daniel Dubois, the Queensbury, his promotion team, they've tried to bring him up like Joshua.
To be honest, I think you've got to give him credit for getting this fight.
Give him credit, he got it, because he beat Trevor Bryan, didn't he? Because he was the WBA regular champion, because the WBA have a super champion as well. So when you're the regular champion, you become mandatory for the super champion. All that bloody political nonsense whatever. He's mandatory. He's earned his place there. I don't know how, though, because shouldn't Joe Joyce have been mandatory for beating him?
Yeah.
So I don't get...
I don't get how it gets there. I haven't really had time to look into it. I don't really care, to be honest.
I don't know how the ranking system works. Maybe it depends how much money you pay them.
Maybe.
Don't sue me for that.
I just want to see Usyk because it's not a bad thing when you get to see in a way Crawford and Usyk box your top 3 pound boxers box.
But yeah, I think Usyk puts on a show this time. But he always puts on a show.
I'm with you. I think in a normal fight, if it was somewhere else, if it was in the UK and stuff, I think he'll just box unless opportunity presents itself, or he knows he's just going to do 12 rounds and do it. I think because, like I said, I've mentioned a couple of times, it's the Ukrainian independence because of the situation there, and because technically this for him is a home fight, even though it's in Poland. I think he's going to want to put on a performance, and I don't think he's scared to show his level now. Because he hasn't got the fight that he wanted. It doesn't serve him not to, and I think if he blows him away.
And let's be honest, Usyk, he's got 2 or 3 fights left.
He's got to do it now.
So he's got to show what
you're going to do it in.
So don't.
Well, in terms of Usyk, who else? Well, I think he'd probably have his mandatory. I think he will probably fight Hrgović. Or whoever it is.
I mean, Hrgović and stuff.
I'm not that interested in that. I think that's a bad thing for Hrgović because I think Hrgović would be better waiting for him to sort it all out.
The thing is...
And then he might be the better one of the next upcoming lot.
Usyk wins, then your governing body say, right, it's Tyson Fury next for undisputed. You've got however many days to sort it out. And I think you've got to give him that deadline. Usyk and Fury.
Well, I think Usyk would do it. I think the problem is that if you're going to have Joshua Wilder in January, I think then the next one it'll be the winner of them. If they only have one fight, will fight Fury. I think that'll be easier to make because obviously Fury's already beaten Wilder, and I think he thinks he's got Joshua's number. I think there's more chance of doing that. So I think that's the next fight, and then that one will be against Usyk.
Do you know who Tyson Fury mandatory would be?
No.
Deontay Wilder.
What, for the 4th time?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think Joshua Wilder. I think Joshua would come up there, and then you take that, and then it's the next. Then they'll get to Usyk. So it's what Usyk does to keep busy in between. And then is there really anybody other big fights out there for him to do? Because he's done. Joshua was the big one. If he's already done that, Wilder maybe he might get in between. And then Fury.
If you look at the WBC rankings, it's Wilder. Obviously, got Fury's a champion. Mandatory Wilder, then Ruiz, then Joshua. Mm-hmm. The WBA, Wilder, Martin Bacoli, Joshua. Jarrell Miller, how's he up there?
He's still around.
Jesus.
Didn't he get banned for it?
Yeah. Anyway, it's another topic.
Right, go on then.
IBF. The mandatory's Filip Hrgović.
Yeah.
Then Wilder, Joshua. And the WBO is mandatory for the WBO is Joshua.
So really out of that, there's Hrgovic, Wilder. Well, if Wilder wins, I think Wilder then would probably be his next fight. But we're thinking Joshua, aren't we?
Well,
if Joshua wins, I'd want to see Joshua Fury.
Yeah, I mean,
and then the winner of that.
The IBF are pretty strict with their mandatory stuff, though. That's one thing I will give the IBF credit for. They do push for it. I think you've only got so many days.
Well, I think they're more the same as you. If you haven't got the time to do it, then you've got to do this. Yeah. I think this is... I mean, the better way round would be if they can sort it out, get the Joshua Wilder on and have Usyk Fury there, and then the winner fights the winner.
I think you've got to do it within the next 12 months, though.
Well, I want to see it, like we said, at the same time. In like a super, all right, it won't be like the Muhammad Ali trophy type thing, but a similar type of...
you get these fights sorted now and then.
2 really world-class fights.
Then they can all fight January, February, and then they can all fight again. You could fight in August or December. Then it's done. We've got one champion, and then you can get...
Well, I think you get 2 fights either way, innit? Say, if Joshua Wilder, Usyk Fury, say we're thinking Usyk there, and whichever one, say Joshua there, then, I mean, it probably makes more sense from boxing promotion if it's the other way around. Wilder wins, so we get Wilder, Usyk, and Fury, Joshua. But, whichever way it is, well, yeah, assume it's that, you get that. So Wilder wins there, and you got Usyk wins against Fury. Then you have Usyk and Wilder for the undisputed, but then you've got Joshua versus Fury, which would be like an epic fight anyway, and you can get them on the same cards. It'd be a huge night of boxing.
I think,
even if you did it over 2 days, like a 2-day contest.
I'll throw this in there. I think Joshua fights Usyk again before Fury does.
Well, I think Joshua's going to win. I think he's got more chance of winning, and I think Joshua beats Fury.
Yeah, but I think Joshua will fight Usyk before Fury. Before Fury will fight Usyk.
Yeah.
Well,
I think if he beats Wilder, which
but you don't
through that,
you don't know.
Do you think Fury's going to avoid him? If Fury avoids them, I think then Joshua Usyk makes sense because he's going to be the mandatory on basically every other card, then, isn't he? He's on 2 of them or 3 of them because he'll go jump up of Wilder.
I think the problem with Fury is now is he thinks he is the best in the world. And he could walk away tomorrow and still think he's the best in the world without fighting Usyk and Joshua.
Yeah, but everybody else won't.
But in his mind...
Well, they are a lot because everybody sort of says him. And I think if you actually watch...
But in his mind, he is still thinking, I'm the best in the world. I don't need Usyk and Fury. Look who we've fought. Who have you fought? No one.
Wilder.
That's it. Come on. Oh, and Dylan White, who froze like a piece of ice... Other than that, you fought no one.
Yeah.
Oh, you fought Klitschko in his back. You had Klitschko beat before you got in the ring because Klitschko had never met anyone like you because, half the time I don't think Tyson Fury knows what he's doing.
Well, I think if you're taking a rematch, I think Klitschko beats him.
Well, that's why...
I think that's why he went out of the game.
Yeah, that's why the rematch was there. The rematch was taking place and Fury went, no chance.
Because his trick when he works once.
Yeah.
And Klitschko was good enough to turn around.
Yeah, and now it's just... Tyson Fury, don't get me wrong, he's come back from...
No, good luck to him.
Brilliant, but...
His story's fantastic, but he's ruined it
himself.
Yeah,
don't go around saying you're the greatest heavyweight that's ever lived.
When you're not.
When you haven't fought Anthony Joshua or Usyk.
The 2 other kings of the division.
You say, oh, well, Joshua's been beat. Doesn't matter whether he's been beat. You haven't beat him.
One was a sucker punch, and one was by arguably the best fighter of the whole generation.
So
it's not like it's no disgrace in one. Yeah, one is one of those things that can happen to anybody.
Yeah,
I seen an interview with Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think I said that correct. And they were like, "How did you get into how did you get into UFC fighting and everything else?" And he goes, "I used to go into every fight thinking I'm going to win." He goes, "The only way I was going to I'm thinking I'm going to win." Thinking that the only way I'm going to lose if somebody gets a sucker, like a lucky punch. Goes, other than that, I ain't losing. And I think that's that's basically what's being done to Joshua. It was a lucky punch. You got to remember, he had him on, he's on the floor, and he outboxed him in the whole second fight. I mean, I was boring. But,
would we be having this conversation if that didn't have happened? No, I don't think we would. We wouldn't be having this conversation. So I just boxing's boxing. You're going to get beat. Take it on the chin. It doesn't mean just because you've got beat by someone doesn't mean that person's going to beat you.
Yeah, well, it's why I think Joshua's got a chance. I think Joshua's the style. I think the styles is like they say, styles makes fights. Really cliched statement, but Joshua, I think with Fury, I think Joshua will win.
Yeah, all day.
It's not about the boxing thing. I think the tricks that Fury pulls out, I don't think work so well against Joshua. The holding, because Joshua's epically strong as well. He's now scared in him because I think Joshua's had obviously he tries to beat you outside the ring, isn't it? It's a mental games. I think Joshua's now old enough where that ain't gonna be, and he's done. And then he's got enough now boxing because Joshua's punching and stuff is really clean. He's like technically clean. He's just not
really
quite as
clean
quick and thingy, but he is. I think his footwork isn't as quick. His hand speed is, and he's got, you know, it looks like with Derek James and stuff, he's got a bit of, and I think credit to some of the others, he's developed a bit more different ways of fighting.
Yeah.
Because I think he's learned, like you said, from Usyk fighting, learned the lesson, isn't it? But yeah. So prediction, Usyk Dubois?
Round 6, Usyk knockout.
Yeah, I think Usyk knockout. What have you had? 6? I go for round 8 because you'll want to, so the Ukrainians can enjoy a little bit of time. And we can enjoy a little bit of time. You'll drag it out a bit.
Wow.
I think he finishes it when he wants to.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
And he might do what he did and just beat him every round for 12 rounds, you know, sort of not get him out of there. But I think in this one, he will get him out of there. Yeah. So I think about 8 rounds. You give him just because I want to see a few more rounds of boxing, to be honest, because it's pay-per-view. I thought it
is on pay-per-view.
So I want to get my money's worth, not just watch one round. There's a few heck of a lot of fights on it, though. But I don't know. Some of the fighters, I don't know who they are. So it's going to be having a look. Cool.
Brilliant stuff.
Okay. Thank you very much, Simon. And thank you, guys.
See you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.